So we will get started. Good afternoon, happy Monday after the holiday, and hope that it was restorative and enjoyable and restful and all those wonderful adjectives for everyone. And best place to be today is to be back here at a Remote Learning Commission meeting. So here we are. We will get started. Again, thank you for all the work to date with a lot more on our plates, as we know, but I'm going to get us officially started and turn things over to our awesome facilitator here, Ingrid.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Good afternoon, Commission members. Today, again, we have an agenda pack of a lot of activities that we have prepared for all of you. And with the emphasis and focus on the development of the feasibility report. So that is going to be the bulk of our work today. As it was sent to all of you on the agenda for today, you will see we have a couple of objectives. And those were first, we're going to be sharing your elevator speech. And the elevator speech was specifically for you to be passionate about it and also present some of your concerns, because we are going to be using that information to begin to really give body to the introduction of the feasibility report. We're also going to be working on groups to be able to go through what the report is about, the outline of the report, and then you are going to be engaging in work groups. So that is the agenda for today. A lot to do in 90 minutes, but we're very efficient and we are ready to do the work. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and do the roll call. Maddie, you can lead us into the roll call, please.
Thanks, Ingrid. Hi, everybody. Hope you had a nice holiday. I will start off with Michelle Levy.
Here.
Thank you. Doug Casey.
Here.
Thank you. Roseanne O'Brien Vocek. There's someone named Team Temp that just unmuted, but I can't tell if that's Rosie or not.
Rosie is not going to be joining us today.
Oh, okay.
Maddie.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Sure.
Okay, Catherine Gabrielson. Catherine Gabrielson. Okay, Dr. Charles Dumais. Dumais. Kate Diaz.
I am here.
I see you there. Amy Wiltsey. Amy Wiltsey. Okay. Lauren Mancini Averett.
I am here.
Thank you. Ed Klinowski.
Here.
Thank you. Fran Rabinowitz.
Here.
Thank you. Lon Seidman.
Here.
Thanks. Dr. Karen DeBois Walton.
I'm here.
Thank you. Tim Larson. Tim Larson. Dr. Evelyn Robles Rivas.
Here.
Thank you. And that concludes roll call. I didn't miss anybody, right? My list got a little messy there. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you. Commissioner, I'll turn it over to you so that we can go over the consent to accept the minutes from the March 21st.
Thank you very much, Ingrid, and thanks, Maddie, for the roll call. So just making sure or seeing if we have agreement to accept the minutes as they were sent out to you. And so I'll do my pause to see if there's any feedback, concerns, changes that you would like to see for the minutes. All right, and seeing nothing, I take it then we have consent to accept the minutes, and so we will move forward with that.
Thank you, Commissioner. So moving to the next item of the agenda is specifically about the elevator speech. Last time we were together, we had a request of you to just put together a paragraph of information regarding what the commission is for you. It's specifically about, from your perspective, and to present as well some concerns. So the process in which we're going to do this, and we gave you a link in which you can enter the information, and I know some of you have entered the information, some of you might not have had the time yet, but that's okay. We're going to get to that. But what we would like you to do is we're going to ask you to read your elevator speech. This is, as you all know, this is a very brief commentary of what the commission is for you. Think about it this way. You are in a board meeting, you are at a supermarket, somebody watched the video of the commission and they ask you, oh, I saw you, you're a member of the commission on remote learning. What is that all about? This is the opportunity for you to let this person know or this group know what the commission is about, and also what some concerns you might have about the commission. So this is the opportunity. So what we would like you to do is, first of all, we will ask for volunteers if you would like to just share your statement with the group. And for the rest of the group, we would like you to please capture a word, a comment, and statement from your colleagues that got your attention. There might be something different from your own to just caught your attention, because again, the purpose of this is going to help us begin to set the foundation for the introduction of the feasibility report. So there's a purpose behind this. So I'm going to pause here and see if you have any questions for me regarding the process.
And Ingrid, before you do that, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting and certainly changing the flow a bit, but I know not everyone was at the last meeting, and we did a lot of discussion on the report development. And so I wonder, before we go to that, maybe just to level set for everyone, and I know we have a slide, a reminder of what the report is that we're working on that may be helpful. And then we can go into the because that's a part of the report. So why don't we do that? And because I think it would be helpful just to level set that. And I know we've had this before, but here we are with the task, which was really a key purpose of the commission's creation, is to coordinate and to research the development and to develop recommendations on the feasibility of creating a statewide remote learning school to serve kids kindergarten to 12. So that really is the kind of the headline of what it is that we were charged to do in the report. And certainly a part of that is analyzing the landscape, which we've been doing and talking to other states. We will pretty soon receive data on the analysis of the impact of remote learning. We know that we'll be able to have that. And then we submit our analysis impact feasibility report that is due in July, I think it is. So we don't have a lot of time, but that is what we discussed last time, and start the process of working on the report. And just for everyone's information as well. So this is laid out for us in legislation, along with what should be detailed in the report, which is what we shared last time as the report outline. So I just really wanted to share that. Because I think it's just helpful for level setting for all of us as we're going into kind of the work stream that was created to help to feed into the report. But big picture is going to get us to a report where we develop recommendations on the feasibility of creating a statewide remote learning school. So I just really wanted to do that. Ingrid, sorry. Just wanted to put that in the space. And I know that there's another slide on the report outline, which again is from legislation, which is what we worked on last week as well. So that's just wanted to share there. So those are the report outline, which you contributed to last week, should I know you're getting information on. These are the areas in legislation that we should cover, that we're covering in the report. And I know at the next meeting, you'll get the information on the impact of remote learning based on the audit and the information that was done. So Irene, did I miss anything here?
No, I think you said it all, Commissioner. That's great. Ingrid,
Awesome.
I can back up if we need to.
Thank you so much, Irene. Thank you for that, Commissioner. So we will come back to this, and as the Commissioner just mentioned, and no need to apologize. It's always great to go back to the purpose and the objective of why we're together, Commissioner. So this is great. We will come back to it because one of the things that we definitely need to keep the forefront is what the objective is, what the purpose is. It's a feasibility study. It's a feasibility report, meaning that we have to ask the question, is it feasible for Connecticut? Is it feasible for each one of our students? What are the perspectives that we have included? What are the perspectives that are missing? So that's the purpose of the report. So this is what we need to keep in mind. One of the things that we do not want to bring forward is this is not the end result, meaning we're deciding that this is going to happen in Connecticut. It's a feasibility report. That's why we ask you through your speech elevator comments, please present your concerns as well, because we want to be clear. As we continue to come together, and I see a couple of hands up, so I'm going to call on you in a minute. As we continue to come together, remember, there's going to be a point in which we are going to have to come to a consensus. If you recall, when we met, we began meeting, we need to come to an agreement of what is the report going to be expressing and saying. We want to present some research, some data. It's very specific as it's outlined. That's what we're going to come back to it. So that's why we want to make sure we keep this at the forefront. The purpose of us coming together is for a feasibility report. Is this feasible in Connecticut? And we have been exposed to a lot of information, not only local, but also nationally. So, Fran, do you have a comment?
I have a question. In that brief summary, I saw a feasibility report for a statewide remote learning school, but I also saw something that spoke to the possibilities of remote learning. Will both of those be included in the report? Because they're very different. I see possibilities for remote learning in terms of district sharing and so on and so forth. We've had some discussion. The feasibility of a statewide school is very different from that.
So I don't know if the commissioner wants to address that. Commissioner?
All right, trying to unmute. Friend, great question, because I believe that this commission can certainly answer this question and more in my mind, right? That you're able to say, this is what we believe, and this is the feasibility, or this is what we think can or should happen. And we can also talk about, based on our experience so far, what other recommendations that the commission would like to put forward, as we've had some of those conversations before here. So I wouldn't take that off the table at all, Fran, because we could certainly say, all right, this is feasible at K-12 with certain conditions, or you can say, no, we think it's feasible, or something should be staged, based on what we're doing now with 9-12. I'm coming to this with an open mind. And I hope, the commission will as well, and that will really flow into the report that we're creating.
I'm relieved at that, and actually I'm excited because I may feel one way about a statewide remote learning school, and I'm not 100% sure where I stand on that, but I am sure that the last 2 years has opened many possibilities with remote learning, and I would hope that the commission could include that in their report.
Thank you for the comment, Fran. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate?
I'm sorry, I can withhold until we do the share out. I think I was preemptively jumping the line.
You're excited, Kate.
I'm enthusiastic.
Great, thank you, Kate. Thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and move. If I don't see any other hands up, I just want to make sure I double check any other comments before we move into the next part of our time together. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead. I also want to make sure that if you have not had the opportunity to take a look at the notes from your colleagues from the last session that was developed through the Menti, there were some amazing comments. You're going to be using them as you go into your work groups. One of the statements that really caught my attention, it was when we were talking about the impact of remote learning. And I think, I don't have the name who made the comment, but it was very clear that we do not want to use the pandemic remote learning experience as the best practice. We need to make sure that we focus on opportunities versus the reaction that we all have to go into in order to be able to provide the services to our students and their families. So I just want to make sure, because that was such a integral comment that I perceived from the many of them, but this one was specific because we want to make sure that as we continue to engage in our conversations, we're not focusing on what took place through the pandemic as being the experience or the opportunities that we see for remote learning. We learn a lot from that, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we begin to gauge the opportunities that also came from it and the learning that we all experienced through them as well. So I'm just going to put that in the space for us as well. With that said, I would like to actually open the floor for volunteer who would like to start and share with us your elevator pitch.
I'd be happy to go first.
And thank you so much. Go ahead.
Here's what I wrote. The Remote Learning Commission systematically investigated how the state might create and operate online curriculum that met the needs of both students and communities. This investigation began by looking at existing models, explored the needs of various audiences within the school population, detailed how such a curriculum would meet state standards, and finished with recommendations for how Connecticut should best proceed. The group included voices from every interest group and was managed efficiently and cooperatively so that every voice was heard and the group's thinking was preserved.
Thank you so much, Ed. Any reactions from your colleagues?
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate hearing that. This is Karen. My one reaction, I love what you said. The one thing that I want to poke on a little bit is included voices from every interest group, because it's impossible for us to hear from everybody, so to leave it, just to leave it a little less definitive about every, and, many interest groups or something along those lines.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much. Next, who would like to go next?
I'll go since I'm unmuted. With the disclaimer up front that I unfortunately missed the meeting previously, so I may not have gotten the full directions around what to write. So this is what I dropped in the document. Anchored by our themes of equity and excellence, I'm energized to explore how Connecticut can offer a full remote learning school that provides excellent educational opportunities and that meets the mark around advancing equity. In my role at ECC Hannah, I saw firsthand the disparities and inequities that exist amongst our student population when it comes to access to the internet, digital learning, and technology as we all navigated school closures during the pandemic. And finally, my background as a child psychologist means that I'm continually focused on how we are addressing the needs of the whole child, including opportunities for developmentally appropriate peer and adult interactions, social emotional supports, and more. So my driving focus as we develop this set of recommendations will be the ability to answer these three questions. Are we offering excellence? Are we advancing equity? And are we educating the whole child?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Comments, reactions from the colleagues? Doug, do I see your hand up?
Volunteering to go next.
Oh, wow, look at that. Perfect. Kate, do you have a comment? You're next, Doug. Kate.
I would say that I like Karen's emphasis on the whole child, because I think one of the things that scares me in this process is the ability to only provide part. Remote has a very dangerous aspect of being able to be isolating. And so I like Karen's emphasis on we will only be successful if we have navigated that road of educating the whole child.
Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you. Any other comments before Doug goes next? Okay. Doug, you have the floor.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Sure.
So if I were chatting with someone between floors, I would say that the Remote Learning Commission's statutory directive is to assess the impact of remote learning during the pandemic, develop standards, and assess the feasibility of a statewide online school. The deep expertise of the Remote Learning Commission members has led to important discussions that expand in important, meaningful ways the scope of these directives. Representing an enormously diverse set of stakeholders, the Remote Learning Commission members have passionately raised awareness of and demanded attention to questions of equity, accessibility, and opportunity for all students considering online learning options provided by the state.
Thank you, Doug. Wow. Thank you.
That would be about 23 floors worth of, but close enough.
Powerful statement so far. This is great. Any comments to Doug's?
If it wasn't clear, what I was trying to get across and what I would hope the report would convey is there's been so much passion and really excellent thinking that this has not been a sort of rubber stamp group. This has been a group that has brought, I would say the hope of any commission, because I work for one, is that you would represent the passions and interests of your constituent groups well, and you all have, so A+.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I have to share from the perspective of facilitators. I'm listening to your what you have captured so far from our time together in the collaboration is just so representative of who you are as a group and how you are really committed of representing the children and the families in Connecticut. And that alone is just, it's amazing. But the fact that we continue to come back to this point about, is this feasible? And we're representing children and asking those questions from children who do not speak English, whose English is not their first language, children with disabilities, about equity and access and opportunity. So I just want to make sure that I put that in the space, because there are families who are paying attention and watching the videos, watching the work of the commission. So I just want to make sure that this is recognized in the space of your passion and commitment. So thank you. Thank you, Doug. Who would like to go next? Kate? I see your hand up. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, I'm fine with going next. I mean, you know, I find this fascinating how we all kind of have our lens about, you know, and having taught in the, my pitch was much, you can tell that I taught during the pandemic. So I said that the commission for me is about best practices in remote education, that we're looking to find the right place and space for remote learning, dissecting what we've learned from the pandemic to enhance educational institutions. That our collection of invested leaders is dedicated to the implementation of remote only in a way that grows our institutions of learning. The commission, you know, we've got to avoid the pitfalls of remote learning that lead to isolation or any kind of disconnection from our communities, and embrace only those practices that improve access to our learning. And it's important that our commission identify key characteristics that would make students and programs successful.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Comments from your colleagues? Some powerful statements.
I know that's what I wanted to say. It's just, I say to our legislators and others that they were brilliant when they put together a remote learning commission. And I mean that, because, and just all of you, and I'm going to go back and listen to this. I know it's been taped, but when we think about the commitment and what we all bring in, we're going to end up with really a great report. Because of this commitment that is there. So I'm just, thank you. Ingrid said it well. They're just really powerful statements.
Thank you. Thank you. Fran, did you have a comment,
Yeah.
or you would like to go ahead? Mhm.
I'd like to comment. I think that one of the things that I find most gratifying about this commission is that we're also different. We bring many different perspectives to the table. And I have really grown in understanding how important it is to hear those different perspectives. And I find myself reflecting afterwards on a perspective that I might not have agreed with before. And I find that incredibly helpful. And the one thing that I do know is that all of us together, even though we may come at it differently, the kids are our primary concern. And I think it's wonderful to see that. I've been on a lot of commissions, I've been on a lot of committees. Many times everybody feels the same way, and this is different, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you for that comment, Fran. Thank you. Thank you. Lon, I see. Go ahead.
Yep. So I'll give you my lens as a Board of Education chairman that had to pitch my budget to the town this past week. We also have a significant portion of our budget going up because of the impact of remote learning and hybrid learning and variations as to when kids started school and not. I am a technology person. In fact, just to out him, I was Ed Klonowski's student in 1995 at the University of Hartford, where we were looking at the beginning of all this stuff. And I think I took a class in experimental hypertext literature with you, among other things. So I definitely see the value of remote learning when it's implemented appropriately. On the other side, I saw, how difficult this past year in particular has been on our teachers because of behavioral issues just related to gaps in developmental growth that comes from being in that classroom environment. So that's something that's been weighing a lot on me and making me more and more passionate about being careful about how we proceed. And that's why I really feel like our focus on data is going to be very important. I do think that there's no replacement for an in-person classroom led by an experienced teacher. Even in the remote learning that we do at my high school, which we've been doing for many years, there is a staff member who's supervising that activity to make sure that things are being done properly, locally in person. So my role, I think, is to represent the boards of ed. I'm here on behalf of CABE. I do think there's tremendous opportunities that right now are not being taken advantage of to expand inter-district collaboration. One of the issues that I've been very frustrated with as a Board of Education member with excess capacity in my district is that the laws are very rigid about the kinds of things that districts can do together insofar as how the taxpayers interface with it. And this is not a knock against the commissioner because this happened before her time, but there was a study requested in the 2019 session that asked the Department of Education to look at inter-district agreements and inter-district districts a little differently than we currently do, and that work hasn't been completed yet or even started. So this is the sort of thing that I think will lead to better collaboration, and I think the Department of Ed can be very influential in that as we roll forward.
Thank you, Lon. Thank you. Any others that would like to offer their elevator speech? Michelle?
So I would say that mine echoes many of the same themes as that Karen's statement did. I can't say it's worded as eloquently, but I'll do my best here. So mine was written as leveraging technology for ongoing student learning offers many exciting opportunities for Connecticut. The Commission on Remote Learning includes education professionals and stakeholders from across sectors and is focused on ensuring that a statewide option for remote learning will be of high quality and will provide equitable access to students across Connecticut. Important factors the Commission is considering include how remote learning can be developmentally appropriate across the various grade levels, ensuring that students are able to engage in hands-on learning opportunities, building strong relationships and promoting social and emotional development, and addressing individual student learning needs. Remote learning holds great promise as a way to enhance and expand upon district's current work to support Connecticut students. Ongoing coordination with local districts, as well as systematic data analysis and feedback, should inform continued improvements to any remote learning system.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Another powerful statement. Comments from your colleagues? Evelyn?
Sorry, I needed to unmute myself, but
Sure.
I really like the comment about the looking at individual student, specifically because I looking at the length of of English learners, and not just English learners, but immigrant students as a whole. I think that it's really, really important that we consider that our population is growing and is changing, and more than ever, we're receiving students, especially looking at middle and high school, that are coming with interrupted schooling, sometimes not being in school for 3-4 years, and we really need to look at their individual needs to be able to provide a platform that is career and college, career and college available, right? And I think that looking at their individual need is extremely important. I mean, we cannot just focus on one size fits all, especially with the population that we're receiving now, and across our state. It's not just happening in inter-district, inner city schools. It's just happening everywhere. And we have to pay close attention to that.
Thank you for that comment, Evelyn. Thank you. Thank you. So any other volunteers, we can grab one more who would like to share their elevator speech.
Ingrid, I could do mine.
Thank you.
The Remote Learning Commission was charged with a statutory obligation to make a remote learning rules. The Committee of the Whole took this charge seriously and provided districts with guidelines to make a remote schooling possible. Albeit not a replacement for daily schooling, but the pandemic taught us that learning can happen in many places in many ways. Leveraging technology, leveraging learning, and leveraging anywhere, anytime learning is a way to the future. There is more to be done, but the Commission represented their constituencies to the best of their ability.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Any comments from the colleagues? So I have a couple of hands up that I'm going to double check, make sure that those are new perspectives, new hands, before I move us on. So Fran, is that a new hand or is that a, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, it isn't. It's a new hand. And I just wanted to comment on representing the constituencies as best we can. And I think that's what we always have to keep in mind. Sometimes it's hard for me because I may have one thought, but I have to remember that I represent all of the superintendents. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Thank you for that comment, Fran. Thank you. So I see that, we'll set. Some of the hands went down, so I'm assuming the perspectives were already in the space. So thank you for that. So we are going to pause here regarding the elevator speech. If you did not have the opportunity to enter your elevator speech into the Google document, please, I'm going to encourage you to do so. The power of the elevator speech is to listen to it, to hear the person that wrote it say it, because the passion comes through, and we heard it today. There were a couple of really consistent messages that we heard today. The perspectives, the charge, the encouragement, the questioning, how we have questioned each other, the information that we have been exposed to, and also I'm beginning to capture, and probably you heard it through your colleagues' notes, some of the considerations that need to be part of this feasibility report. So that's why it is very important, and I'm just going to put that in the space. And all of you who know me, you know I'm coming from the perspective of equity, access and opportunity, culturally responsive approaches to processes. This is a culturally responsive approach to a process. The why each one of us is in this space. Your speech, your elevator speech is your why. Why you in the space? Because you're representing a group, representing yourself, and that's what is coming through. The purpose, what you were asked to be, what you were assigned to do in this space, that came through. A culturally responsive approach process is one to account for everyone's perspective, and I heard it as well today. The multiple perspectives, diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, they need to be included as part of this process. It is the balance between the technical and the adapted. Technical, we're going to move into the technical. The technical is the report, is the feasibility report. That's the technical. The adaptive is the why. Our students, that's the adaptive. The fact that we need to make sure that they are present in the space, even though they might not be physically in the space, but we're bringing them forward. That has been the questioning. That has been the importance to having data. We need to make decisions that are going to be strong enough to represent those who we are representing, our students and our communities. So thank you for the exercise. I encourage you to please enter if you have not yet, because we are going to grab all this information. Just think about the introduction, the page that is going to introduce this feasibility report. It's been written. You have provided that information already as to the purpose of why. So thank you for that. Irene, if we can just please move. Let me pause here and see if we have any questions as we move forward. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead. Irene, if we can have the next part of our time together, please, which will be the report and the outline. Thank you. So this is what we were going to bring back, the purpose and the task. This is the technical aspect of it. And not just to, I'm actually going to emphasize it again. Recommendations on the feasibility, highlighted in yellow for all of us. It is to coordinate, to research and develop recommendations on the feasibility of creating a statewide remote learning school that will serve students grades kindergarten to 12. Feasibility. Keep that question in mind. Is it feasible for us in Connecticut to the development? With what I'm going to add what the commissioner presented earlier when the question was asked. This is an opportunity for all of us as members of the commission to take a look at feasibility and other options as well. Through the last 2 years, we have experienced a lot. We have learned a lot. And this group brings so much into the space based on your own experiences and your expertise. So we want to make sure that all that is in the space. Last time we were together, we went through an exercise and took a look at and heard from you in every single one of the sections of the report, from section 1 to section 5. We took a long time to go through it. We have provided you with those notes. Today, we are going to actually break you into groups. And the purpose of that, this is the technical aspect of it, is for you to organize yourselves and begin to put together the content from your particular groups. Very similar to what you did with the elevator speech. Now it's going to be using all the information that you have been exposed to so far. In addition to other information that you want to bring into the space, we're going to be asking you to give us some content to be putting into these sections. Feasibility, remember, feasibility. This is not a yes or no. It is report, information, recommendations. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, we're going to share with you the timeline. If we can move to the next one, thank you. So today, April 18, we are going to go over the task of each one of the work groups. You're going to be able to go into the space, into your groups, and organize and plan. We have created a Google file document that you're going to be entering information as you begin to develop the content. It is already developed for you because we want to keep everything one space. It's already developed. Today, your task will be to organize yourself into your small group. I recommend for you to identify a lead that is going to help you organize yourselves within your group. Somebody said, yeah, I like organizing. I want to keep us on task. Please volunteer. That's your role. Getting consensus. And then you are going to be giving yourself some tasks. We're going to tell you exactly what is your task for each one of your groups. And we are expecting a draft of about 4 pages to come back to us May 16 or before. By May 16, we are going to be sharing what you have put together with the full group because we're beginning to develop this report, this feasibility report. I'm going to present to you the deadline is July 1st is when it needs to be submitted. So our colleagues at the department are going to be writing the report with all the information that you're providing. We are going to present you with a draft of that report for your response. Most likely we're going to be having a couple of more meetings because we're going to be coming to consensus. We have to reach consensus of how this report is going to be representing all of the perspectives in this space, all of your perspectives and what it is that we want to submit. So that's going to be part of the process. So we're entering into the very technical aspect of the task. So let me pause here and see if you have any questions for me or for the commissioner or the colleagues from Irene from the department. I don't see any questions. Oh, I like this. Good. Clear enough then? Very good. So these are the work groups. We have the research and design, the focus group development, teaching and learning, and infrastructure. The commissioner alluded earlier that you are going to be receiving information regarding data. Next time, May 16, when we come together, there's going to be a full presentation about data across the state collected, the audit regarding remote learning. You're going to be getting the full scope, the full report, that then you're going to be able to use to add to your information. So you're going to be getting more resources and more information. For the purpose of today, we're going to ask you to be in your groups, organize yourself, how you are going to be attacking, and I'm saying attacking aggressively your task, because we want to make sure that we begin to produce, from your perspectives, this report. So I'm going to pause here. I know you all have already identified the groups that you are going to be part of. Irene, we can please have the next one, the next slide.
So the next 4 slides are going to be specific to each group with
Yes.
the chart, with the task and the charge. Yep.
Thank you. So research and design, you have over here, you have your purpose of your charge and what your task is going to be. So we are going to make this available to you. As you can see, there is a link The Google document has the Google Drive and file has already been developed. So you'll be able to enter that information in your particular group's document.
I also shared it in the chat now, so everyone will be able to see the 4 different links. And this might be helpful where you could see what's developing in the teaching and learning if you're not in that group and vice versa, but you have access to all 4 in the chat.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you. So this is for the research and design. You have to identify, you're going to be identifying the overall strategy to integrate the different components of the commission task in a coherent and comprehensive way, ensuring that we are effectively addressing all recommendations concerning the provisions of remote learning for students in grades K to 12. If we can move to the next one, please.
I just want to point out in the parentheses, what we intentionally did is going back to the outline of what sections need to be completed to show where the research and design intersects with a certain part of the report.
Thank you for that, Irene. The focus group development. This one is really key because it's going to be specific to something that it was mentioned earlier regarding the perspectives, those perspectives that are not in this space. How do we ensure that they come to the space? Who needs to be informed? Who needs to be part of these decisions? Remember, this is a feasibility study. We need to make sure that we're accounting for those perspectives. And if they are not in the space, how do you suggest we go after them? So I want you to keep your part of the focus group development. Please make sure that that is part of your conversation. And that is part of section 5. The next one, Irene. Teaching and learning. Best practices to support educators in the implementation of the full online remote learning environment. That is part of section 2 and is part C of section 2. As you can see, we are asking all of you that this be completed by May 30th. And the last one, Irene. Infrastructure. This is specifically about developing a draft recommendations on the feasibility of creating a statewide remote learning school. And this is the in-depth review of the virtual platforms, the resources, what are some of the boards of education perspectives. So this is it's also key because we need to, this is the fiscal aspect of it, the concerns, and we had some of the conversations today. Lon, this is very similar to some of the comments that you were mentioning earlier about how do we ensure that our boards of education and the fiscal aspect of it, how much has been invested, and we need to keep that in mind at the forefront as well. So those are the focus, those are all the work groups. So I'm going to now, Irene, if I'm not mistaken, Maddie is going to help us organize the groups.
And Leslie. So
Leslie, okay.
Yeah, Leslie and Maddie, we can check in. We know that we did email to see if you want.
Irene, before we move, I just have a question, a clarifying question.
Sure.
Can you go back to the focus group one again? I guess I want to be clear on what's being asked there. So my initial thought would have been that focus groups would have been held to gather information that would go into the report. Now I think I'm hearing it differently. Can you just go through this charge one more time? Because I think I'm not clear what this section is for, or what you're asking for from this group.
Yes. Thank you. And I will also ask Irene and the commissioner to if I'm missing any information here. So the idea of the focus groups, and Dr. Walton, you were correct initially. So if you think about it, and if this is something that it can be part of the conversation of the group that is going to be developing this, is to be able to gather the perspective of those ones who are going to be most impacted by this remote learning school. Students, families, so that's the ideal situation. How would you do that? How are you going to be able to do that? So let's think about between now and May 30th. Is that doable? And if that's the case, how are you going to do it? if it's not doable, and I want to be fully transparent because time constraints, how do we document that this need to be part of any future recommendation regarding the feasibility of having a remote learning school? I hope that that makes sense. It is because we want to make sure the ideal situation is, and if we gather the perspective, in order to be able to move forward with a remote learning school. How are we going to accomplish that? What are those perspectives and how that needs to take place? Does that help?
Thank you. Yes.
I would also add, Ingrid, that this is part one of the work, because then the work continues throughout next year when we do need to submit a plan and draft requests for proposals and any other recommendations to legislation. So we may not have convened these focus groups to inform maybe wholly this part of it, but in this document, we're saying these are the groups we do need to convene in order to meet that next task, if that helps.
Irene, thank you so much for that. I think what it brings me back is to the opportunity of this feasibility report. The opportunity that this feasibility report can present to the legislators for consideration regarding, can this be done? And if it's going to be done, how it needs to be done. And I think this is the opportunity of this commission to be able to bring those recommendations forward. So any other questions, reactions?
I just one observation, I think, and I think Fran said this earlier. It just, the feasibility of, it just gets me thinking about what our scope of work is, and I think several of you, our colleagues here, have mentioned sort of thinking at the student level, thinking at the school level, thinking about platforms. So obviously we frame this out with infrastructure and R&D appropriately, but to me, sort of the scope of what do we mean by feasible is really important. So I actually have in one window of the statute, and I keep going back and reminding myself of what we're being asked to do, because I think that's really important.
Thank you for those comments, Doc. Thank you. So this is the level of conversation that you want to have in your small groups. How are you representing? How are you putting the perspective forward? The beautiful thing about all this is that once you gather the information, our colleagues from the department are going to be putting this into this comprehensive document that is going to be aligned with the requirement of the legislation. We cannot miss that. There is a requirement. So we are going to be able to put all that together and put it into a format that is going to be aligned with what the requirement is. So what I will put in this space is as you enter into your groups and begin to have these conversations, free yourselves from all the technicalities and allow yourself to be able to input into this the representation of those ones who are you bringing into the space, those perspectives, the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities. So if we don't have any other questions, because I'm being conscious of the time and we want to give you some time to organize yourselves, because you might most likely going to need to meet in between meetings and, organize either through how you enter information into the document, what you're going to do. So we want to give you some time to do that. So with that said, Leslie, are we ready?
I don't quite know who's going to be in infrastructure. I just have Ed in it, so I don't know if we can just go through each one and then assign or pick your assignment or your breakup session. So infrastructure, who would like to be in it?
I have to apologize, but I have to leave in 4 minutes. And so I assume I'm going to be assigned lots of homework by being absent. But I am committed to being on the infrastructure group, and I will do the work that needs to be done between now and the 16th. I apologize that I have to go.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for that. So Leslie, why don't we do this? Can you please give us the names of those ones who are on the other groups?
I have the old list.
Mhm.
For research and design, I have Ajit, Lauren, Doug Casey, Ed, Tim, Amy, Catherine, and Roseanne. For
If you-
focus, oh, go ahead,
go-
sorry.
I was going to ask, if you heard your name for the research and development, are you still committed to that particular group? Yes? Okay, good. All right. Next one?
Focus group development.
Yeah.
Irene, Evelyn, Charles, Lon, Fran, Kate, Michelle, Karen.
Are we committed to that one? Still? We're good?
Actually, I would be willing to help Ed out on infrastructure. I think that's where I have the most expertise to bring to the mix. But I would like, certainly be around to answer questions on the Board of Ed perspective on any of the other groups.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lon.
And I would be happy to participate in the teaching and learning one if that would be helpful. If we need to even out the groups a bit.
I was, I think I don't know if I'm on 2, but I think I also offered my expertise in teaching and learning, which I think is probably appropriate, but I'm not really sure because I think I might have ended up on 2. So I'm not sure if that was an email or something, but if not, my preference is for teaching and learning.
Teaching and learning. Thank you, Kate. Any others? Go ahead.
I think
Fran?
I ended up with a couple. Did you name the teaching and learning committee?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Teaching and learning, I just have Kate and Michelle.
Then I would like to be on that one.
Thank you, Fran. Okay. Does anyone, go ahead, Leslie, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you, did you want me to start assigning them to their groups?
Yes, thank you. And I do have a question. Is anyone else interested in the infrastructure? Because I have Lon and Ed at this point. Okay. So Leslie, why don't we go ahead and break the groups. Your task is organize yourself, name somebody that is going to be a member of the team that is going to help you even organize yourselves even more, that is going to lead. And then we will come back about 5 minutes before the meeting is over just to hear where you are. Okay.
Because it's just Ed and me, we will be meeting offline and we can brief you accordingly.
Sounds good, Lon.
Right now it's just me, so
sounds
I
good.
myself a lot living at home, working at home.
Yeah.
But.
And you can feel free today if you want to join another group for today, so you can provide your perspective, so you don't feel that you have to.
I was in. Yep.
Perfect. So you probably are going to be zooped away by the team's magic, as always happen. So we will reconvene 5 minutes before the end of our meeting. So you have 25 minutes in your group to engage in conversations.
Paul is here with us, and Paul is here to provide some support as well to your groups. And so if we have a point person for each group, then Paul can make sure he's connecting and do whatever we can do on this end for support. So Ingrid, do we need to know that?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Commissioner. That's exactly what we wanted to bring everyone together. We definitely need to know who you have identified as the lead in your group, and as the Commissioner just explained, Paul will be in contact with you to be able to support you as anything that you need regarding organization or any information that you might need, any resources as well.
So I noticed, Ingrid, some Some groups did identify a group leader, so thank you, Teaching and Learning, Kate, being a group leader. Thank you for that. So I know others are being determined, but yes, it would be helpful because we have a short window, right? So from now until May 16th, Paul Castiglione, as our project manager for the academic office, will also be a point of contact for you to help liaise in any kind of way and check in on progress or if there's specific needs or questions. So we do want to make sure that people are connected and that you have access to that as a resource before we come back together with some drafts on May 16th.
Irene, were there other members for the focus group that aren't on today?
There are, well, yes, there's members, yes. Great question. There are members that are not present today, but we're not quite sure where they want to be. So we'll be following up with them, and I think some of the groups will get larger.
Any other final questions or thoughts as we are wrapping up and saying my thank you, as always, for the good work that we're doing together. Any final thoughts? Questions, comments?
Just to clarify, before the May 16th, I'm assuming this means Michelle and Fran and I have to meet at least one more time. So I'm happy to take that. I just need to get, will Paul be the one giving emails? I have Fran's, I don't have Michelle's. So will Paul make sure we have that?
It might be Leslie initially. We can help if everyone is okay with us sharing the distribution list, then you can have access to all emails.
All right, that sounds good. And, not to conflate or to confuse the issue, but it made me stop and think as we were having the conversation that we have this feasibility report. And then in the legislation in 2023, it charged the Department of Education, being informed by this report, to do an implementation plan for how we're going to implement and roll out a statewide remote learning school. So you can tell there were already some assumptions made in the legislation for moving forward. And so, as I said, maybe a meeting one of this commission, that I am certainly not sunsetting this remote learning commission, because for that next set of work that we have to do, certainly need your expertise and your perspective in that space. So just know that that's there as well. So just wanted to put that in that space, that we certainly are not done with the work that we need to do together. But again, thank you very much, as always. And, I have to thank the team on this end, Irene, Ajit, Ingrid, Paul, for your behind the scenes planning that can make sure that when we get together in this space, we're effective and efficient in the work that's being done. But again, thank you all so very much. Work to be done by then. We'll continue to move forward. So that's it. Be well, stay safe. Until next time.
Take care.